welcome back to Norway. We've got a lot to get through this episode, so I won't waste any more of your time waffling before we even start. What you can see behind me is our stadium, and any minute now I will shrink myself down into the corner and you can get a slightly better look. It won't be a very good look because you can't get very close to this stadium on Google Maps. But anyway, we'll have a look in a minute. Okay, like I said, it's not the greatest of views of the new stadium or our new home. It's not a particularly new stadium, I don't think. But yeah, that's where we're going to be now. I think what we'll do first actually is we'll drag ourselves out because there's not an awful lot to see in this particular bit of the world. Now, Eidsvoll itself is sort of over here. So let's go and have a quick look around there. Now, there seems to be a nice river running through it, so let's see if we can get a good view of the river. Oh, there we go. We can get ourselves into a bridge. Well, that'll be nice. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Beautiful. So, I mean, it's a lovely area. Sadly, I haven't been able to find anywhere to live around here because for some reason the internet is almost completely devoid of useful things on how to find a place to stay in Norway if you don't want it to be like a hotel room or a long-term B&B. The closest I've managed to find anything was Oslo, which is like 60 kilometres away, so it's going to be a hell of a commute for me, although, to be fair, only 3 times a week because turns out we're semi-pro and we won't be training all that often. But yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful looking place, but then you'd expect that of Norway, wouldn't you, really? It's all sort of carved valleys and mountains. So yeah, I mean, that's the area. And now let's go and have a look and see what I've managed to do with the team. Just very quickly before we do actually look at the team. This is the place I've managed to find. It's a fairly small place, but you know, there's only me, and you know, it's quite nice and it'll do. I mean, I'm not going to be here that long because I haven't got long left of this save, but yeah, lovely big TV, and you can't see it behind me, but there is a nice little sort of like log fire thing attached to that column, that brick column behind me. So yeah. All in all, a decent place to get my head down every night. Anyway, on with the team news. Before we get into the action, we have the little matter of the first round of the Cup being drawn. There's been 2 preliminary rounds already. We enter at this stage. So, what we want to do is see who we get. There's a lot of teams in this, but we are one of the first out of the hat. Now, bearing in mind we're supposed to get to the second round minimum to keep the board happy, the fact we've got top flight opposition is a bit of a bugger, to be fair, but it is what it is. So yeah, that will be our second game of the season, I believe. Yeah, so if we can find time to fit a second game into this one, because there's a lot to catch you up on, then it's going to be a defeat probably. Unless they play a nice weekend side for us. Right, as you can see, it's the opening day of the season. We are at home to Stabæk reserves, basically. Now, transfer-wise, we have done quite a lot of business. All this lot had happened before we joined. Now, I signed Bernd Christensen, who is like I'm going to be our backup left back. He's not amazing, but you know, he's a body. He'll do in an emergency. Now, Ozan Oksus, who, whilst having a name as Turkish as the day is long, is actually Finnish, apparently. Reasonable centre back, lacks a bit of composure, but he's not a starter. We've already had someone come in and try and offer him a deal. He's non-contract, unfortunately, so there was nothing I could do to stop it. Fortunately, because he's been here for so little time, he turned it down. Hopefully we'll work on him over the few months and he'll get to like it here and want to stay anyway. Now, I have signed someone from Cameroon. It's not Boris. It is someone who I was seriously looking at Bambutos for a while. A lad called Parfait Baha. I mean, the boy is literally perfect. He is going to be our deep line playmaker because, as you can see, he's got great passing, decisions, reasonable vision, good first touch and technique, excellent composure. I mean, the boy can pick out a pass. So we have got a Cameroonian. So the link is still nicely there. He was a free agent. Now, Magnus Vegerlund, who's been banging goals in for fun in pre-season, 17-year-old forward, excellent finisher, pretty good, generally speaking. Lacks pace, but then our style of play doesn't rely on pace. We knock the ball around slowly. We don't need people running in quickly. He's got great acceleration, and reasonable mentals for what we want. So he's been doing a very good job. I've had lots of chopping and changing with who I think I've wanted where. I had to buy almost an entirely new midfield. Simen Lundahl is one. He has randomly scored a couple of really good long-range goals despite having a long shots of 7 in pre-season. But he's just basically okay for this level. He's not supposed to be a starter. Nor is Sivert Riisdalsnes, but he is going to start at the moment because our first choice, one of our first choice Metzalas, has gone down for 7 weeks. A little bit more on him later. But this lad, as you can see, for our level, he hasn't got any major flaws whatsoever, and he's basically decent, and his physicals are actually pretty good, which is always helpful. He's got him down as a ball-winning midfielder there, but Mazzala is third on the list. We're using him as a Mazzala. I'll show you the tactics in a minute. It's a little bit of a variation on what we used before. Now, Noah Lockerhagen is going to play defensive midfield in this formation, and again, his marking, his tackling are good. He can pass. He's got pretty much everything we want. He can't run, but I don't really want him to run. I want him to sit there in front of the defence and shield. So running is not a major concern. And then Trond Hus, who is a talented little blighter, who is not ours. He's on loan from Lillestrøm. Zealand will be so proud of me. I finally used loan deals. And if you don't know who Zealand is, he's another football manager YouTuber and pretty much the most successful one out there. And every time any team struggles, he will say, loan people in. And we've had to because we've run out of money. But that's who we've brought in before the season switched over to 2032. Since when I have brought in Nishantha Hasindeen, who is a Sri Lankan international left back. He will be our first choice left back. He has no pace whatsoever. Cannot run at all, not without assistance. But what he can do is everything else you want a fullback to do. Well, apart from the crossing and dribbling, but at this level, none of them can. It doesn't matter. And they're not the ones supposed to get the crosses in. The Mazzalas are supposed to do that. It's all in the plan. But yeah, you can see his marking and tackling, his positioning, teamwork, bravery, anticipation, concentration. Everything else is good. Just a shame the boy can't run. He has been away briefly on international duty as well, so he's a current Sri Lankan international. Now, have had a couple go out. Jarle Heimerback, I was very disappointed with. He is a very promising 16-year-old goalkeeper, and sadly he was on a non-contract deal. Someone came in for him. I decided to try and renew his contract, because very often if you do that, it makes them or it appears to make them think, so that, oh well, the club definitely really want me, I'll be happy to stay. So we got to the wages bit of his contract, and he wants non-contract again, which is like, okay, fine, that'll probably be all right. And it's telling me how much he wants for per match appearance if he plays, which, let's face it, he wasn't gonna, but we just wanted to keep him so we didn't lose a promising youngster. And I just went, yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't care, because technically we're not really going to be paying you anything because you're not going to play. So I agreed to it, and I get told he's been backed into a corner, can't possibly agree to those terms. I was like, that's exactly what you asked for. And then Sandefjord signed him because he wouldn't talk to me again after I'd backed him into a corner by giving him exactly what he wanted. Teenagers. And then Robin Fjellstad, this caused me, for a while, a little bit of a problem as well. I turned down an offer from, I think it was Notodden, for Fjellstad. He got all bent out of shape. But then I had a look and I thought, well, if someone else comes in for him, maybe we can get his wages off the books, we can bring someone else in. Grorud came in after a lot of anxious, sort of like, because it wasn't going to get us down below the wage budget still, I was like, well, are the board actually going to allow me to sign someone to replace him, or am I just going to get screwed over on this? Turns out I got screwed over on it. I let him go. The board didn't let me offer anyone. Well, I could offer wages, 300 a year. Nobody's going to sign for that, not in this league. They either want non-contract, which is fine, or they're going to want some sort of decent wage, and 300 is not going to cut it. So we had to have a little bit of a look at the squad, and it turns out Benedict Notoane here, not her only Notoane, try saying that 3 times fast, just so happens, in amongst all this left-sided Misheva that he's got going on, he can play up front. So he's basically my backup forward. You might also remember Sivert Overby's name when I said I wasn't going to be re-signing him. I did, as you can see, because he's one of our starting centre-backs. He's actually possibly even our captain, I don't even know. But it turned out those physicals weren't enough of a barrier. I couldn't find anyone else good enough to justify letting him go. Nicolas Moreno, we had an offer coming for him, which I turned down, and it said that he was interested in talking to them because he was transfer listed. So I was immediately, why are you transfer listed? I didn't do that. Took him off the transfer list, turned it down. He still got all bent out of shape. And the only way I could satisfy him was by saying, oh yes, you're a star player. He's not. I mean, he's been good in pre-season and weirdly good in the air. But so I had to tell him that to calm him down, which was fine. And he is one of my first choice Mazzalas. But now he's out for 6 weeks, so a lot of good that did me. And then Andres Hipper-Fagereng here, who is clearly my starting goalkeeper, one of the best players, pretty much the best talent at the club, wants to go because he knows he's the best talent in the club and knows he's far too good for us, but, you know, egotistical little sod has complained about it, so he's unhappy. Little did I know, he's also actually suspended for the first game of the season, which is nice. Let us get to our first match of the season. Staff-wise, I have also been somewhat scuppered because we've got several positions that the board say we shouldn't have anyone in that position, but we have got someone in that position, and unfortunately, whoever was here before me has decided to sign them all to like 3 or 4 year deals. So I can't even get rid of anyone, and I can't ask them for a mutual termination because we'd have to pay them off. And the club is in financial trouble and we can't afford it. So I'm stuck with a load of people doing jobs I don't want them doing. And costing the club a fortune in the process. So it's no wonder we lose money. We're paying about 4 people somewhere in the region of about 50 grand a year to do things we don't really want them to do. Anyway, back to the football. Right, first chance looks like it's probably going to be theirs. I mean, we spent the entire pre-season beating people easily because I've done my usual and played really bad sides. Although some beautifully named teams. I'll give you a quick run through them if I remember after the game. But Norway has its fair share of stunningly named sides, certainly at the very lower levels. Well, hello, maybe the first chance is going to be ours, and Dranga Hansson Fires it wide. We'll have to start getting used to these names. There's nothing too difficult for me to say in there. Nothing on target yet by us. Disappointing. And we are only supposed to get top half. I'm a little disappointed that our team does not look to be all that good. I think it's not too bad as long as I've identified the attributes that are good for the roles properly. But it's certainly no Bambutos. That Bambutos side would probably kick this one from here till next week. Yeah, we have to be better in front of goal, people. But I mean, Bambutos had money available. Unfortunately, my wage budget got cut slightly by the board after I arrived, after the new season started, which has not helped. And of course, they've now just simply refused to keep funding any more. Oh, hello. Have we got a penalty? I think we have. Who takes our penalties? I have no idea. Oh, it's Dranger Hansen. Dranger Hansen fires it down the middle. Keeper moves out the way. Obliging little soul that he is. And we lead by a goal to nil, having barely deserved it. Well, no, yeah, I mean, that was basically relying on the keeper moving, wasn't it? Otherwise, that was a really easy save. This is one of those weird leagues with reserve sides in it. Now, let's have a look. We've got anyone a bit tired? Right, well, let's put Kivalg on. And anyone else? Anyone not really playing well? Oh, playing all right, I think. Actually, no, put Nosoane on for Vegeland. Because Benedict has been playing quite well now. We've found a decent role for him. I actually was originally planning on using him as a left back, but you know, left back or up front. Oh my word! I don't know what. Why was the referee in the middle of our box during that? That was a weird position to take up. Still, never mind. As long as he didn't give any dodgy decisions from there, I'm fine. Oh, well, it was never really going in, was it? It was looping over. All of a sudden, this game has become a highlight fest. Alright, yeah, let's get the ball away from our goal, boys. There we are. Good lads. No, that was horribly aimless. You had options there, son. You could have kept on working that around, but you didn't. Oh. Well, it's a good job he can't shoot. Must have been a real surprise to you when he materialised out of nothing from behind you. Did you not know he was there? And enough of people not spotting opposition players at Bambutos. Don't you lot start right from the off. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Good call. There you go. Get in the opposition half. Hey, Benedict takes it round, fires wide. Oh, you're knocking them in for fun in pre-season, you mug. Well, 2 shots on target between the two sides. Ours went in, theirs didn't. Way, and ours was a penalty. Class. Well, what a fantastic start to the season. I think that this episode is probably going to be dragging on a little too much to show a second game. So you're probably not going to see us get knocked out of the cup. Yeah, I'll say that was okay. I mean, the performance wasn't disastrous. We just didn't shoot properly. But, you know, a win's a win. Awful attitude and the performance wasn't much better. They weren't exactly good either, mate. You know, we scraped a win in a game where neither team deserved anything. I can't deny it was a terrible game to watch, but anyway, we'll just have a quick look at the schedule. So yeah, sadly you probably won't see any Norwegian Cup game from us. Unless, of course, we miracle our way through that and get someone sort of, later in the season. Now, as you can see, we have played teams with names like Fart, Ski, Arse, Grinder and Vind. I love Norway. Anyway, that will just about do it for today. So thank you for joining me. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.